The Indian Prime Minister is on his way to Myanmar, where he is going to have a meeting with the de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi. But remember, there is a global outcry afoot right now on Myanmar's handling of the refugee crisis. More than 90,000 people are reportedly displaced due to the fighting between Myanmar's security forces and Rohingya refugees, Rohingya minority in the Rakhine state of Myanmar. Joining me on the broadcast to talk more about the outcomes of this visit, the impact that it will have on India and, of course, the South Asia region, Bangladesh in specific. I'm joined by Ramesh Ramachandran, my colleague. He's in Xiamen. He's been monitoring the Prime Minister's movements in BRICS for us. Also with us is Saad Hamadi, WION's Bangladesh Bureau Chief. He's joining in live on the broadcast as well. Good afternoon, Ramesh and Saad. Ramesh, if I can come to you first, given that there is this global outcry right now about what's going on in Myanmar, would it be safe to assume that this is the next test for the Indian Prime Minister, given that the centre has also, decided to work on seeing reporting or rather seeing the refugees, the Rohingya refugees out of India as well?
Indeed, Aisha. Now, Myanmar has been in the news for all the wrong reasons lately, and Prime Minister Modi's visit comes at a time when Myanmar's State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi is under fire for not speaking enough on the issue of the Rohingyas in particular. And to my mind, that meeting between Prime Minister Modi and State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi, would be an interesting meeting to look forward to. But that said, from India's perspective, Aisha, Myanmar is a significant country in that under Prime Minister Modi, we've seen he's tweaked the former government's Look East policy into Act East policy. And from that perspective, Myanmar is a key country as India looks eastwards towards the Southeast Asian economies, many of whom are members of the ASEAN and also of the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, also known as BIMSTEC, which, by the way, were invited last year for the BRICS summit held in Goa. Also, from an India's perspective, the northeastern states of India, remember, Aisha, are all landlocked, and they share a long, extensive boundary with Myanmar, which is insurgency-prone. And from that perspective, too, given the fact that many insurgent outfits operate on either side of the border in India as well as in Myanmar, this visit would be very significant from that perspective also. So this visit, as I said, is significant at multiple levels. It remains to be seen where the relationship goes from here, especially after Prime Minister's visit there. Absolutely.
Saad, it's a difficult choice for Bangladesh in many ways as well. I mean, on the one hand, there is that demand that, Muslim communities around the world rise and provide succor and support to the Rohingya refugees who are making their way away from Myanmar. But on the other hand, Bangladesh is having to deal with a severe influx of huge numbers of refugees. Where does Bangladesh position itself at this time in this crisis?
Asha, there's a major humanitarian crisis at display over the last weeks that we have seen, and as you've also mentioned, about 100,000 members of the Rohingya community have entered into the Bangladeshi territory through illegal means, and they have not found a way to leave. Even behind me, there are men and women waiting just to find their shelter, to be able to build a new makeshift camp and stay here out of the misery that they have faced in their own homeland, in their home territory, in the northern Rakhine state. And this has been continuing for decades. There has not been any resolution that has been seen or brought to the fore by the Myanmar authorities. Aung San Suu Kyi's administration and Aung San Suu Kyi herself has been considered as the prisoner of conscience, but no resolution has been brought so far. And Bangladesh is really in a tight spot in this circumstance. It has already accommodated nearly 500,000 members of this community over the last decade, several decades to speak. Now, in this situation, Myanmar has resisted all sorts of international pressure, including the latest advisory commission formed by Kofi Annan, the former UN, and there have not been any progress in this regard. And this Rohingya community that we have learned all this while is a majority Muslim community, but there are also Hindus we have seen in the recent days who have fled this persecution and entered the Bangladeshi territory to make a living out of the misery that they have lived in their home territory. The continuous torching of homes and the violence that they have seen is believed to be an effort to clean out these territories, wipe out their land records and all sorts of documentation that they have. And as a result, these people who are entering into Bangladesh will not be able to go back, even if Myanmar says that we are willing to accept our citizens back if they are able to provide any documental evidence, which is not there with these people, given that they're...
Obviously, the crush right now, the crisis right now is apparent not just for Myanmar, but also in many ways for Bangladesh and for India. I suppose we'll hear more on how India plans on approaching the crisis after Prime Minister Modi's visit to Myanmar. We leave it at that for now, gentlemen. Thank you both, Ramesh and Saad, for joining in on the broadcast.